We had 8th through 12th at that time in Atlanta, Georgia. The folks standing on the side of the walk were yelling at me because I was desegregating that high school. We had a number of folks who were more than willing to try to make sure that I did not feel well throughout the school. I was lucky enough to have teachers, a couple of teachers who were determined to make sure that that was not going to be the case. I had no counselors to go to because they felt that there was not a problem and they didn't want me there either. From that situation, I ended up doing a lot of different things. One of the things that I ended up doing was becoming the Director of Public Information for the Portland Public Schools. In the Portland Public Schools, when I walked in, I began to find out that we had a series of suicides in high schools. Many of them were tied to the LGBT kids who were being bullied and felt as though they were not going to be allowed to love who they wanted or be accepted in their school. So we began a process of trying to work with those students, but we also had a process of trying to deal with the suicides, just generally, because it affected the school as well. It devastated the school. And we had situations where we had to put together a program in the Portland schools to deal with suicide. I do not know whether that program still exists, but it was there for a while because we were unfortunately having too many reasons to do it. The training and the response to that particular program was something that was important. It is something that remains important. During the last year, when we did our tour of the state, I'm reminded of two incidents that we dealt with. One was a teacher, biology teacher, I believe, at Happy Valley Middle School, just outside Portland. It's a high-income middle school. She got up and she told us about the fact that we walked into her class and she was shocked that the kids thought they were just learning how to cook. They were but they were making cinnamon rolls. She was teaching them about yeast. It was a sneaky way to teach them about yeast, but it worked. But then she sat down and she said, we have a situation where we have 2 counselors in this 1,200 student school, and they have a 2-month waiting list. And then she said, we've had 3 suicides in this middle school this year, and more than half a dozen overdoses of opioids in middle school. This is not something we should be dealing with. And then when we were on the coast, Coos Bay, this 3rd grade teacher said, I can teach kids all sorts of things. I can teach them reading. I can get them excited about math. I can do all sorts of things. But when she handed them an assignment that said, we want you to tell me what your future looks like. And she got back the note that told her how an 8-year-old was, why, how, and when he was going to commit suicide. I would consider this a crisis, and we need to find some way to address this crisis. I think this bill goes a long ways towards doing that universally across the state, but we need to understand that this is not some odd situation. We've had some things in the past, people have dealt with in the past quite a bit. Some folks have managed to come through it, others have not. But right now we need to do something at the state level, and I urge you to support this bill. Thank you.